So, good evening, everyone. I am Sanjeeta Agarwal from Delhi Urban Adventures. Hope you all are safe, well, and trying your best to stay positive in these tough times. I welcome you all to the fourth episode of our Travel Talks, our talk series. Thank you so much, first of all, for joining us. By any chance, if you missed the last session, you can view it on our IGTV. So, before I bring in our guests for today, about whom I'm really excited, I would like to throw some light on today's theme. Imagine a field of work which is not taken seriously and really not understood by many. Now imagine a woman working in that field. Tour leading in India is a career some people are not even aware of. And especially when it comes to a 9 to 5 work culture, freelancing is still considered a new concept for many. It is not considered a real profession. Now, if you think about it, imagine a woman tour leader. So, a woman tour leader in India brings in an added set of challenges and disadvantages. Women cannot do it because it's a field job. They would always be on the road. They are not strong. They are not bold enough. It's not safe for them. They'd be away for days. They cannot do it once they're married. And so many other, family and pressures from the society. When we talk about women tour leaders in a male-dominated industry, it's not very common. It's quite rare to find women tour leaders. Fortunately, over the years, we've had a lot of positive changes. There have been many organizations and companies, and on the top of my head, Intrepid Travel and Urban Adventures, who have actually been the pioneers of women participation in the industry. They have from the beginning been committed to inclusion and diversity at all levels of business. And now I can proudly say that there are more and more women leading the way, not just in one field, but in so many others. And our guest is the perfect example for this. So on this note, I would like to call upon our amazing multi-talented guest for today, a fellow tour leader from Intrepid, who's not just a travel content creator, but she's a social media influencer and my dear friend, Ankita Jaiswal, aka Soulful Safarnama. So please, let's welcome her. Hi, Ankita.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? All
I'm
good?
doing good. All good. Everything's going good so far.
That's nice. Thank you so much for joining us. It's such a pleasure having you here.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
So, you have been an inspiration to so many people and particularly women. And I personally have been inspired by you because I know you since a lot of years and I've seen your work. And when I joined Urban Adventure, you were one of the few tour leaders I really looked up to. And you have always been very helpful for sure. And especially after I read your story on an Instagram page called Women Can Do Anything You Can, it really, really inspired me. So just like me, our viewers would also know more about you. So what's your story? How did you start your journey?
Well, it all started with one that gutsy decision of booking my bus tickets for my first ever solo trip to Gokarna in 2016 while I was working in Bangalore with a fashion e-commerce startup. Well, I did travel before that as well with my friends, which was a lot of fun. But as they say that, one decision can change your life. And that one decision for me was traveling solo. And I felt an excitement, a rush that, in challenging people when they say that, girls shouldn't travel solo. And it was such a revitalizing experience for me that I wanted every single girl with wanderlust to know. After Gokarna, the travel bug sort of bit me so hard that every other weekend I was traveling to different southern cities like Alleppey, Varkala, Coorg, Pondicherry, Pune, and so on. And while I was working for the fashion e-commerce company as well, that was the time when I started documenting my journey as well. Like for the girls out there who really want to know that is it safe to travel in India, I started documenting my journey so that I can tell them that it's absolutely safe. Like you have to be a little wise, but if you really want to travel to different cities, you don't really have to tag along with other men, just to travel. So I started documenting my journey and I used to find joy in that. And that was the time when one of my friend who is also working for the same company, introduced me to Intrepid, which was hiring female tour leaders at that point of time. So I risked that decision of changing the industry.
Yeah.
And yes, here I am.
That's amazing, Ankita. That's absolutely amazing. It's quite relatable, and I have also felt this that whenever I travel solo too, I am also like it's safe. It's not how it's been made by the general society that women can't do this and they can't travel solo. So you are definitely making such a huge change. So kudos to you on that.
Thank
Um,
you.
so now coming to how you have been such an amazing social media influencer. So people follow social media influencers and their trends quite faithfully. What do
Yeah.
you think is the actual responsibility of an influencer?
See, influencers are the new trendsetters. I mean, gone are the days when, people used to follow celebrities for fashion, for travel, for beauty, for fitness, and whatnot. I think responsibility is a big word. I think the job of a travel influencer is to talk about different destinations, but instead of talking more about the popular destinations, more about unexplored places, more about local people and the sort of work that they are doing, and more about their practices should be shared about. I mean, along with the history that we normally share and the culture, more about more things like what can go wrong if you're here in a city, and how to cope up with that. So these sort of experiences, when you share, it's a first hand account of your journey that makes people feel that there's a less of a difference between experience, like expectations and reality. So we need to narrow that gap more.
Yeah.
And I don't want to touch any political or social aspect when it comes to responsibility, but I feel that every person who is in the travel and tourism industry has a responsibility towards nature. So it's not just about delivering content, but also how you travel. So like more about spreading awareness in people that even if it's small thing, like carry your own bag, carry your own bottle, carry your own straw, or positively highlighting the city or hotels, or anything that is sort of putting positive contribution towards environment. So according to
Yes.
me, that is a responsibility of a travel influencer.
That's great. You've summed it up so well. Because a lot of times, even just a basic traveler or an influencer, they would travel, but they make it more about, the big things. But we need to
Yeah.
talk about the small things, like you just said, that, even carrying your own bottle or stuff like that, and bridging the gap. Because if nature is providing us so many things, we should also give something back to it, right? So,
Absolutely. And I think more about local people, because that also shows that extra effort that particular person is going through just to narrate that particular story to the audience. So more about local people, that adds an extra touch to your story. That's what I feel.
that's amazing. So now moving on, we have actually collected some questions from the audience, and we had tons of questions. So we have narrowed them down and also kind of cumulated all so that everybody's questions are answered. So first question is, how do you actually handle the work-life balance, and any advices on managing personal life during the busy season? You know how it gets pretty
It gets
crazy.
little intense. Yes.
Yeah, it gets pretty. Yeah. So how do you do that? How do you handle it?
For starters, I would like to point out the nature of our job. Like, it doesn't require us to be busy throughout the year, but then when it requires us to be busy, it's little tight and like less spacious. So we need to prepare everything in advance. If anything is required at the family front, I have to think like at least 2-3 months in advance to prepare for it. So after spending time on the trip, whenever I come back home, I make sure that I'm spending time with my family and taking out time for my friends as well. But with the use of technology, I think it has become easier for us to stay in regular
Definitely.
touch with our friends and family. And if there's a gap between two trips, I have to plan for that also in advance. So advanced preparation sort of helps in everything. And I think a major part of work-life balance also is to make sure that I'm not indulging in any activity that hampers my health. So,
Okay.
taking care of small things, like making decision for things like your eating habits, your sleeping habits, and so that you're not too stressed. So I meditate quite a lot. So meditation, yoga, I have to, sort of squeeze in time for that as well. So like it's all personal, it's all subjective. How do you find time out for yourself in this trade, in this particular business? It's a little tough, but I would say it's not impossible.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. It's so important. Like, I think the meditation point and the point about maintaining your health is extremely
Yeah.
important, because there are some days, you have to wake up really early in the morning for a train ride. So
And you
your
have a
sleep
long day.
long
Yeah,
day, as much sleep schedule especially has to be on point. So moving on to
absolutely.
the next question, which so this question has actually brought back a lot of my memories too, and I would love to know yours. What what has been the most challenging or difficult situation, and at the same time, on the other hand, sorry, what has been the most memorable or like the high point of your to a leading journey that you have experienced?
I think I personally say that incidents only happen to lucky people. That's my point of view looking at different situations. And my
Yeah.
most challenging situation happens to be my most favorite situation as well. So,
Okay, that's nice.
talking about that, like you have to keep in mind that sometimes, things don't always go as the way that you have planned, because there are
Mhm.
a lot of external factors as well in the travel and tourism trade. So yeah, one of the biggest challenges that I faced is also one of the major learning experiences that I have had till now. Control what is happening outside of you. So I knew one of this incident that happened
Hmm.
with me. Once I was on a trip and the external environment changed quickly because of a political decision, and the effects were felt countrywide and even on my trip. And the whole situation was on the verge of converting into a very dangerous one. And in that situation, I found myself quite anxious and quite nervous. But in time, I could control my nerve and realize the importance of effective communication. That is very important. And with constant touch with the superiors in my office and with the local authorities, I sort of handled and managed the situation. So it's not always like what's happening in your environment is the major part that's troubling you, but also like how do you respond to it. So because I had the responsibility of my passengers as well in that situation, so I had to be very calm. I had to maintain my calm and sort of pass on that calm to different passengers as well. So I think that was one of the things. That was one of the incidents. Not going too much into details of what happened, when happened, because of what, and all of that. But yes, you have to accept that when you are in travel industry, when you are on field, things will not always go according to what you have planned. External factors, in some way or the other, will end up sort of disrupting your plans or doing something or the other. So it's always how you react to that particular situation makes a major difference. So in situations like this, I think your emotional intelligence plays a vital role. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. This incident, I think, is most of the guides at the office. We've all heard of it, and I mean, it was just amazing how calm you were, because one of the major things for a tour leader has to be calm, because you can face any situation. Any situation can be thrown at you, and you have to handle it, and you handle it so well. And I loved how you said that the challenging situation and memorable were both, because sometimes a difficult situation can also be good, it's the way you handle it. That's amazing. So, being a female to a leader in a male dominated industry, have you personally faced any discrimination or backlash from anyone, maybe from the industry itself or just people around you when you were leading tours?
So, of course, we live in a patriarchal society, and like the whole setup of it is only based on discrimination. So, but not to point out the obvious, I would like to point out that, of course, like there are certain stereotypes related to it as well, which stands true. But also, there's a lot of positive aspect related to females in the tourism industry as well. So let me like pick up both the topics. First, talking about the stereotypes, females are always considered to be a pushover. So, when you start leading and people see that, you're taking a bunch of people to different places, and there are so many local people who are related to your own field, they consider you a pushover. So they feel that, oh, she wouldn't know anything and she wouldn't know how to plan her day and, where to take. So let me help her out. But you won't see
Hmm.
any of such thing happening to a male leader. Like no one would go up front and, offer all of these suggestions to a male tour guide. Like this would never happen. But on the contrary, there have been some positives to it as well. Like whenever we are going to different cities, unexplored cities, and when the local people they see females leading, their first impression is someone soft, which sort of influences their gratitude and their manner. Like the way in which they conduct themselves is like very nice and very calm, and they are very thankful to you. So that is also a thing. And sometimes it works for your benefit as well when your passengers end up telling you that, oh, we are sort of relaxed, and that you are our guide, and so they find their comfort in finding out that they are being led by a female tour guide, because sometimes passengers are a lot shy in asking some questions than that they would be otherwise shy in asking male tour guides. So I think there's a positive and negative aspect related to it as well. It's a new industry for females to enter. So when, of course, there's um, whenever, like, initially there has to be some resistance, so it is there, but yeah, there's a lot of positive aspect related to it as well.
This is something that I agree to, because like I loved how you have shown the positive side too, because it's kind of like you like women try to adapt to how we are shown. Okay, we are soft. We're going to take it in our favor then, like we get
Of course.
more gratitude, and like you said, people talk to us more nicely. And but a lot of times you also get, like, I still get a lot of surprised reactions. Sometimes people don't even recognize that I'm a tour leader. They'll be like, oh, you are a fellow passenger. Then no,
Yeah.
I'm guiding a group, so it's very
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to the next one. How can we, and in particular the tourism industry, change the perception of Indian society towards tour leading and establish gender equality in tour leading?
Wow. Okay. So I think, well, for the starters, targeting the mindset of people who think that, girls are not meant for the field work and tourism is not their cup of tea. I think it all has to start from the grassroots level, that is mindset. And so there's a clear-cut difference between men and women biologically, but that doesn't mean that, like, their potential to perform is any less. So maybe giving an equal chance to females as well and training them for every challenge should be the first step. But I think that females don't find it very lucrative in terms of social security when it comes to being at the ground level of the tourism industry. So the sort of work that we do is the ground level of work. Like, we are in touch with everyone, like with the passengers, with the company at the back end. So, like, yeah, the ground level. And also, to have a stable career, field work is not really considered a very good option, and then there's a social angle associated to it as well. I remember my father rejecting this job the day I told him that, okay, fine, so this is what I've decided to do. And his reply was, you can't do this, and you're not really meant to do this. And what are we going to say when you're going to get married, that, you work as a tour guide and you roam around with people in so many different, like, cities? So people are still not ready to accept that fact that it's a field where, even women can work. Women who like to travel, they can also work. So it's, I think, a deep-rooted thinking that needs to be targeted, and a society which is welcoming of decisions where, not just females, but also males, if they want to, like, get into a field work like this, like, it should be welcoming. And I think Intrepid is doing a wonderful job in hiring females, not just in India, but in so many different countries as well. Luckily, I got, like, the chance to travel to different countries. And when I was in Sri Lanka as well as in Egypt, I was fortunate enough to meet with so many female leaders. Our urban adventure guide was a female, Shrook, I remember, and our guide, Iman. Like, so it was a wonderful experience. So I felt sort of good in being associated with a company that is making such a big difference in terms of gender discrimination, like, in giving a positive contribution towards it. Yep.
That's amazing.
Hi, Ankita. I'm really sorry. Due to some technical difficulties, we could not proceed with the live smoothly. But yeah, I think you were in the middle of the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. It's India. We have a habit of playing hide and seek with the electricity, so that's completely fine.
Really sorry for it. Really sorry for it. Yeah.
That's okay.
So, like, I kind of wondering, like, that the kind of challenges that you have already talked about regarding, I'm just talking about the other thing apart from the main questions that are left. Only two questions which are left, so we'll be continuing with them. But, like, I've seen a lot of female guides from my team and even from the other companies as well. I've always observed that while they are on the work, they are always trying to bring in something essential, like, when they are on the street and they are trying to lead the group and everything, they have to be loud. And I think for all the tour leaders, I think this is one of our qualities. We have to be assertive
Loud.
sometimes, but we have to be loud so that everybody can hear. So like for somebody whose voice is like always like very sweet, very nice, but they cannot, like a mellow voice, they cannot raise their voice, and if they'll try to be loud, it feels like they are shouting. So there are certain friends of mine as well, and I think I'm asking this question on behalf of them. So like, what do you think the people who face a lot of difficulties in being loud, because for them being loud makes it like they are actually shouting? So
Okay.
what do you think? Yeah.
So I
This is
think a
like
lot
an
of
impromptu
factors.
question. Yeah.
That's okay. So a lot of factors I think contribute to the whole situation. First, like being a tour guide, you definitely have to speak up. Like you have to be loud and you have to be assertive, but you don't have to be bossy. Like some people, sort of mix being loud and bossy altogether. So you don't have to be that. You have to create a like difference between both of them. So pick a timing and pick a place. That would be my like suggestion to you. Is most of the explanation, suggestion about a particular day, about the whole trip, or whenever we are discussing a topic. So pick a place where even if you're not shouting at the top of your voice, even if like you're talking normally, like how you're talking to me, you must be audible, to each and every person. So pick a place definitely. I think the major challenge that we face is whenever we are going for city tours, for orientation walks, and there's so
Exactly.
much of noise, there's traffic everywhere, and then you have to sort of talk out loud. So what I personally do is beforehand, like before going for our orientation walk in the hotel itself, I discuss what is going to be covered in this particular walk. So you're going to be seeing this, you're going to be seeing that. If I find something interesting, you can definitely stop in between and ask me that question. I'll be happy to address that. But if you think that question can wait, then let's address that in a place which is much more calmer, and when I talk, everyone can hear me. So my voice is very squeaky when I, go at the top of my voice, and it's a very high pitched voice. You would not want to hear that. But yeah, so I wait for the right time, for the right moment to discuss if there's anything urgent. If it's small things, like a person is pointing out to something and just asking you, what is that? What is that? So you can tell that individually to that person rather than, waiting for everyone to come together and then, talking in a loud voice to talk to everyone. So yeah, I think timing and place matters quite a lot.
I think that's really important. Even I think coming to my tour leading, I am definitely gonna use this because I've always been like talking loudly in like whole city tours, and then I've realized that there is like the rickshaw walas are going, there is a background noise, there are few people
Yeah.
coming and taking selfie. It gets really titsy bitsy. So I
Difficult.
think yeah,
And I think talking in public places, like when you're doing the orientation walk, it's little difficult. Little difficult as well because the attention span of the people is also very less because there's so many colors that people have not seen before, and so many things
exactly.
going around. So people are very distracted. So half of the time you're talking to the whole group, but only half of them are listening to you. So
Exactly.
yeah, when you pick a time and a place and then you discuss a topic, then people sort of go back and remember, oh, I did not see this. Oh, I saw this. What was all that about? So just connecting the dots and picking a place and time, I think that has worked for me in my experience.
I think
So
that's
yeah.
a very like valuable suggestion from you. I think I'm definitely gonna use it, and it will be really interesting for others as well. So like now, I think we have enough people, and I'll just continue with the question. So the question was
Yeah.
like how effectively one can manage content creation while traveling. You do it very effectively, and that's why this question is being asked to you. How we ensure that we are not losing on the experience, because when we spend the time and when we are also trying to document it, it just we can lost in the moment, and how you do it so efficiently.
So as they say that every minute, every second matters, so it's like one of those things. But like I get the essence of your question, but it all depends on what we love and how we travel. So I love to travel by creating content, and it comes easy to me, like for creating videos, for taking pictures, and knowing where to do what. So that sort of comes easy to me, and I don't really have to choose between being in the moment and creating content. When I click a picture or when I'm creating a video, I'm in the moment and I'm capturing it. So I'm putting a lot of emotions into it than just my technical abilities. So when it comes to the ease of content creation, I think it also depends on what sort of person are you and how practiced you are. It's not your first rodeo sort of a thing, like you have
Exactly.
created content before. So practice, I think, makes a lot of difference. Also, it depends on what sort of trip you're doing. If you're doing a solo trip, you have a lot of time in, experimenting with the angles and, choosing if I want to create a vlog, if I want to create just photos and all of that. But when you're traveling with a group, when you're leading one or you're a part of any group that is being led by someone else, so you have to be a little picky about timing. And even those 5 minutes that you have in between the explanations, you have to, utilize that time in order to create content. So yeah, I don't feel guilty for not being able to choose between being in the moment or creating content. So yeah, for me,
I
when I
think
look
that's
back at my pictures or my videos that I have created, it sort of brings me back all the nostalgia of what moment was it, like the guide was talking, I could hear him and hear her, or maybe yeah, you got it.
And I think one of the ways that I have followed myself personally, looking at the content that you post on your profile, like I've always seen that you are already in that moment, like you are lost in that moment. You're enjoying when while you're going or showing any like particular thing or a scenic beauty. I've seen that you are so much evolved, eloped into
Involved.
it that yeah,
Yeah.
involved into it that it doesn't matter if you just even after like a year or so you can watch it and you'll still be like reliving that same moment. I think that's
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
important. Exactly.
I think
So
that's
like
the essence of pictures. Like when you create, when you click a picture, when you like do a video, I think that's the whole meaning behind it. You should be able to relive that moment later on when you look back. Yeah.
exactly, that's really important. And now coming to the last question, which is one of the most important question as well. Like there are a lot of girls who are out there and who don't pursue the passion because of the social pressure. There are other factors as well. What message do you like to send out to them, the who feel hesitant?
Okay. See, at the end of your life, you would be flipping the chapters of your life. No one else will do it for you. Everyone does it for their own lives. So like, be wise, do not come under anyone's pressure. You have to think about yourself, right? Like the pressure that sometimes we feel is external, is by our family or by the society. Sometimes that pressure is not external, it's in our mind only. So we have to fight that. We have to fight our inner doubt that has been created by our mind. So, ultimately, your own happiness matters, and no one else is going to work for your happiness. You have to. So, if you think that pursuing that particular dance class or going for that painting class, will give you happiness, then don't wait for anyone else to give that happiness to you. Like, go and do it. This is the time. Follow your heart and, master courage. So, in our Buddhism, we say that your life expands in proportion to your courage. So, do not come under societal pressure and have the courage to take the decision for yourself and follow your heart. I think if I had buckled under the pressure, I wouldn't be having this session with you. So, like, give an honest try to whatever you like and whatever you follow, whatever passion you have. Give an honest try. Even if you fail, that's completely fine. At least you won't have the regret that you never tried. So, yeah,
Exactly.
follow your heart. It's the same thing that everyone says: follow your heart, follow your passion.
Exactly, it's really important. I think for most of our people, no, I'll say not just like the female guides in our industry, even for us, even for me personally, you have been a a huge source of inspiration while going out, leading, and content creation and everything. And I think it will be really helpful when they will be getting to know about the answers to the important questions. And I would really want that people, the viewers, and who would really like to get connected with us and you personally, they can follow you on your page, and we'll be mentioning everything. One another important update that I would like to make is we will try to work upon by combining the session. I hope that if we'll be
Yes.
trying to do something about it, but if we are
Yep.
not able to do something, we'll be saving session and we'll be combining the question and the answer together in the summarized form in the captions. All right. Thank you guys. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much, Ankita ma'am, for joining us today. It
Thank
has
you,
been a pleasure.
Aman.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
And yeah, uh, I hope you liked it.
I loved it. Thank you so much. And yeah, stay at home, be safe.
Yeah, exactly. It's for everyone, guys. Stay at home, be
Yes,
safe.
absolutely.
Take care. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.